Good morning and welcome to Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE, online at kvre.com, and on iHeartRadio. He's Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. Tracy, it has been a huge week in the sporting world, and we begin this week's show with a look at our new national champion in the college football world. Congratulations to the Indiana Hoosiers, the team that you rode the bandwagon all the way across the finish line and then some. The Hoosiers completed one of the most improbable rises in modern college football history. The 27-21 win over Miami was a masterclass in composure, physicality, and timely playmaking, and the national reaction reflects just how stunning this turnaround truly is. From a dominant first half with a suffocating defensive effort to holding off Miami in the end, what did you think about this performance on the biggest stage in college football?
Well, I'm gonna say first, if you recall us talking about this when the whole playoff, that I thought that Miami earned to be in here just as much as anybody the way they were playing.
Yes.
And that's the way I said it. I mean, I know they were 10th, but whatever. And, they were right up there with Notre Dame. The best teams were playing at that time was Miami and Notre Dame, which we all know about the story about Notre Dame. But I thought that also you got to give credit to the coaching aspect of it, all the way to the play. And I don't even know if they've got the play. They got a name for it yet. I don't know, the Mendoza run, of course, but how the play calling I thought was extraordinary between both sides. And it just so happened the cards fell for Indiana. You got to give credit where credit's due. We talked about the running game for Miami and how they had linemen, 70 pounds heavier, average heavier than the defensive line for Indiana, but somehow they found a way to stop them when they had to. But once again, it was one of the best, Mark, and you know as well as I do, this is a classic. This is one that'll go down. It matches up with, Texas Longhorns, the run at the end, Vince, one of those kind of deals. But it's definitely a classic, and I say that in jest, look, luck sometimes plays a lot in these games, but you know what? You make up your luck by hard work, and it's just that simple. And the cards fell in the right direction for Indiana. 16-0, there's only one other team that's ever done that in college. I just think that this is something special that shows, and you and I are always on this, the bandwagon for the underdog. And I know they went in their favor, okay, big time. But you know as well as I do, all year long, everybody was like going, when are they going to trip? When are they going to trip? Because you know what? They didn't blow out everybody through the season getting to here. They had a lot of luck, but you know what? That luck's been on their side, and you make your luck, like I just said. And I think that they made it happen that night, whether it's the run by Mendoza, the interception at the end, or just the football gods looking at them and going, it's your time.
All great points. I'm glad that you brought that up, the instant classic aspect here, because these were not two big flashy names. Indiana and Miami. Where's the Ohio States? Where's the Oregons and the USCs? Where is any SEC team in this championship game? They were nowhere to be found, taken down along the way by the likes of these two squads right here. But this is such an important moment for college football because it is Indiana and because it is the greatest turnaround that this sport has ever seen. And I watched a lot of interviews this week, and I was happy to hear that most are on the same page, that Indiana's rise and what the Hoosiers accomplished this season is one of the greatest seasons in college football history, and probably the best turnaround the sport has ever seen. The first national championship in program history, the first 16-0 season in modern college football. We're talking about a program that was historic in all the wrong ways. Most losses in FBS history, all the way to national champions. I mean, it's an unprecedented arc, and Indiana did it by doing what it had done all season. They play disciplined defense. They win in the trenches. They thrive in those clutch moments. You talk about Mendoza. No one is more clutch than Fernando Mendoza. Nice. I don't know if anybody was really questioning whether or not he should have won the Heisman, but he proved it all throughout this CFP process. And he didn't have to put up video game numbers to do it. He did it by delivering when it mattered the most. that late touchdown drive where he converted multiple fourth downs. I mean, that was the series. That'll eventually go down as really the touchdown that defined winning the national championship game. And it was really the moment that the Hoosiers slammed the door on the Hurricanes here. One of the biggest transformations. Everybody loves to root for an underdog. They took down Ohio State. They absolutely dismantled my Oregon Ducks. There was an interesting story with Miami having home field advantage. That had never been done before in this process either. Miami made it a ball game. At the half, I would have thought otherwise, but Miami came back, made it a ball game, but in the end, the best team won. Did they get it right? Well, I don't think they had to work very hard because they knew that the best team in college football was already in.
You're telling me, because the bottom line is also, too, though, that these, when you and I talked about this before we started our recording, that did the guys putting the teams in there, did they get it right? I mean, was there any teams left out that could have, should have, would have? And did they do the right thing by putting Miami in? Now they're looking pretty good, all of a sudden.
They saved face. They saved face.
Right, that was it. They just saved face, Mark.
Yeah, and
that's all they did.
Here I am. I literally just made the argument for them because the debate at this point, is it doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't matter if we put Notre Dame in or Virginia or Duke, because Indiana proved that it was the best team in college football. So does it matter if your team gets in and gets eliminated in the round one? That's the argument now. If the best team is going to win, then they're going to argue that they got it right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course, and the numbers show that, obviously. But I'm going to go to another level at this, and that everybody, including, because the way that the public eye looks at these teams and these players, it used to not be so much as far as the big schools like you were talking about. But also what I want to comment on is how these young men are looked at as idols, and that how now at Mendoza, how these young kids these days can now say, hey, look at that guy. He did it. And I'm not going to fall back on this too much. We've already mugged this as much as we can. But a 2-star that nobody looked at, that means that I can do it. I can do it. I can, when they tell me I can't, I don't care. I can still do it. That's the mentality that I hope that the young women, men these days, the boys and girls, can look and say it can be done. And I hope that that's the way they look at it. And also some of these teams that are out there, maybe Arkansas will get take notes. Hopefully somebody did, but saying that it can be done. We can turn this program around.
That's exactly right. And it doesn't have to be success. Doesn't go through just Ohio State, just Alabama, just Oregon, just those big names out there. Teams like Indiana, who have never won it before, have always been looked at, oh, that's a basketball school. Why would you go play football there? Anybody can do it, and it takes a truly elite athlete and a great role model. And I mean, if you've watched any interview with Mendoza, I mean, he's going to be among the best. And of course, we know that the Oakland Raiders have the first pick in the NFL draft. I don't think there's any chance that it's not Mendoza. And I mean, unless he decides to stay in college or forgoes the draft or something, to me, this looks like it's probably a done deal, and an organization that's going to have a new head coach next season, not new ownership. I guess I have to point that out as a bullet point. They already have Ashton Genty from last year's draft. They get Mendoza. All of a sudden, the Raiders start looking like a team that could do something if their ownership would let them, and that's to be determined.
That's the key right there. We'll let them.
I want to go back to the game because there's another big moment that wasn't a Mendoza moment. It was a special teams moment here. Tracy's favorite. Momentum swung in this game when Indiana's Mikhail Kamara blocked a punt that was recovered in the end zone for a touchdown. That made it a 17-7 ball game. In a tight physical championship game like that, that was a clutch moment that delivered, really became one of the defining plays, defining moments of the night, especially because you think about what this defense did for Indiana. first play of the game against Oregon, pick 6, right? Special teams comes up with a blocked punt. It wasn't just the Mendoza show. It showed that on all facets of the football game, Indiana had the right people in place. Hungry young men. These are your blue collar guys that are wanting to go out there and make a difference and show that they can contend with the big dogs, and they absolutely did. To me, that was the biggest play of the night. It wasn't the final play of the game. It wasn't the game-winning touchdown, but there's moments in the middle that sometimes are the moments that absolutely determine the outcome when it's all said and done. You take away that special teams touchdown.
Oh, complete different look.
I mean, we're talking about Miami is starting to gain momentum. That was the silencer. And I think that was the biggest deal that resulted in Indiana finishing the night on a high note.
And I think that at the college level, these are still young men, and I know some of them are, because this was a higher bracket. If you look at the age on both those teams, they were some of them that could be in the pros already and will be in the pros. But if you think about it, I think the momentum shifts at the college level, I think they mean much, much more. I think that the mental stress works on them a little bit more than it does with the pros, and to come from behind when you just have one big play after another, it's tough to come from behind simply because that they feed off the band, they feed off the cheerleaders, they feed off the crowd, and I think as young men they use that as a stepping stool, and what I'm thinking right now is that the momentum shift right there, and I know that Ohio State came back. Miami came back and made a big run after that. But still, like you said, that was a silencer. It really was. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, the crowd, which was 70% Miami.
It's their home stadium.
It got quiet. I mean, quiet. And then you saw them build back up, of course. But, boy, you talk about a shift. And let me go back one just step before we conclude this segment on Mendoza. The quality of that young man. And I know these coaches, and they've got people that prep them from interviews now and stuff, and they practice this all the time. But the quality of this young man, not just slam dunking on the Miami folks, the coach.
Right.
When he could have just dogged them. You didn't hear that one time from that young man. And I mean, the 2-star thing coming, that was where he was from. He went to high school there. And they never got a look from that coach that was at Miami. Didn't get a look from any schools in Florida. Matter, he didn't get a look from anybody. He had the amount of traveling that he had to do to California, back to Indiana.
That's right. That's right.
But never, no negativity. And I think that shows a lot, not only for the young man as far as being in public, but also on the field. That's his mentality, staying positive. And I think that's the key. I'm going to revert back a little bit. For any young person out there listening in right now, that's what it's all about, staying positive and staying true to yourself and knowing that you can do it, but you got to stay positive.
Character goes a long way.
Oh,
it's what separates a good coach from a great coach. Is you got to stop looking at the X's and O's. You have to stop looking at the stars. You have to look at potential. What this student athlete brings to the table in terms of leadership, integrity, and character, because fundamentals and skills to the game are teachable. Everything else takes time. And if you want to be successful on the biggest stage in your own sport, you have to have a guy that can do both. I can teach someone the game, but teaching him how to be a stand-up human being,
and knowing what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
He's going to do some really great things in the NFL. I fully believe that.
I believe so, absolutely. And we could elaborate on this game for weeks now. I'm going to tell you right now, because we know that it played into the hands of Miami, the way the no calls, which we're not going to get into. The game's already done.
No, they were very upset about it after the game. There was some physical altercations, unfortunately.
But I'm not going to dog anybody right now, but I just thought that it was a little impersonal about the way that after the game was over, not a lot of handshaking.
No.
Not a lot of hugging.
No, there wasn't. No.
The quarterback for Miami, he just walked off. Mendoza was still looking for him.
Yeah.
And he just walked off, and he was looking. He just walked off. But anyway, you and I, we could talk about this, and I'm sure everybody else can too. But anyway, great game. And yes, I wrote them the whole
year. Hey, you sure did. You sure did all the way. And
it wasn't too much weight.
Well, It's always nice to see the underdog get it done. The question becomes, can they sustain it? We know that the younger Mendoza has already transferred out to Georgia Tech. It happened within 24 hours.
Imagine that.
Entered the portal and had an official visit in Georgia. He must have went there straight after the game.
I think he probably watched the game from there. No.
Well, I suspect there will be a tampering investigation.
Let's just say
I
something.
suspect it's already been opened. But the question will be, can Indiana sustain? Obviously, Mendoza is likely to go to the league, and a few of his teammates, I'm sure, will follow as well. But they've got a really good coach, and that's going to help the recruiting efforts, and best of luck to him to see if they can sustain it and possibly even repeat next year.
Yep. And then we'll talk about this, too, when it comes time. The portal closed, obviously, and, just like Indiana got somebody in from another school already.
Yes.
Which might have led to that. But next week we're going to talk about that portal a little bit more, and after that window has closed right now. So we'll elaborate on that a little bit, too. What's going on, huh?
Much more to come on our show. Stick with us. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition returns in a moment on 92.9 KVRE. And then there were four. It's Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE. He's Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. 4 teams remaining in the quest for the Super Bowl this year. And we know there will be a new champion, but it's the Broncos, the Patriots, the Seahawks, and the Rams vying for a chance to hoist the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the season. We start with our breakdown of each team, Tracy, where a look at your Denver Broncos surviving a wild overtime thriller against the Buffalo Bills, winning 33-30. Their offense made timely plays late, and their defense delivered just enough in overtime to escape. But the big story, however, is not the win. It's the loss of quarterback Bo Nix, who broke a bone in his ankle in overtime and is now officially out for the rest of the ride. They're 2 wins away from the trophy, and now their season just took a sharp turn, and the spotlight shifts to one Jarrett Stidham, a quarterback who has lived most of his NFL life in the shadows, but he's quietly built the kind of resume that makes him more prepared for this moment than people realize.
People don't realize either, though, if you look in like you were just talking about, you don't see the everybody fretting, nobody worrying about it. I mean, as far as people that know how the Denver Broncos organization works.
You're right.
Because their coach, he's a winner. I mean, he's a winner. And obviously where he was prior to this, where he won a Super Bowl, he was around one of the best quarterbacks of all time, no doubt, Hall of Famer, right? And so he knows how to coach in these situations. And then also it doesn't hurt if you've got one of the best defenses around also. But yeah, when the ankle, whatever they say it is, crack, broke, whatever, he's out. But Stidham, though, listen to his background, though, if you need to do the research. The guy's thrown, in college level for over 4,000 yards. He was successful where he was. Even as a backup, he's come in and won. And he knows this organization. He knows the playbook is what I'm saying. So if you look at it from that direction, he's been on the scout team all year long. So it's not like he's not been in some big moments. He had a good run when he was in college. Like I said, over 4,000 yards. So he knows the situation. Has he moved around a little bit? Yeah, he's moved around a little bit. But if you look at the same stature, he's almost identical to Bo. He's not quite as heavy, but he can scramble. He's not a pocket passer, even though he can throw from the pocket. Now, here's the deal, Mark, is the timing going to be there? That's going to be a biggie. Now, because not that Bo was a big percentage rate passer, but if you look, that's the whole situation right there. The pocket presence is what I'm getting at right now. No one to hold him, no one to fold him. And yes, he has thrown some interceptions, and yes, he's fumbled. But Stidham, once again, we'll see what happens. I think that defense wins championships, and obviously this one right here is going to be a big one, but they better have their chin straps snapped on pretty good because, like I told you last week, and I've told everybody else, after you showing me the way with one good New England team, I'm really been watching them now. And yeah, people are saying MVP.
This injury is tough for Denver, but it doesn't carry the same weight as if this was Drake May, as if this was Matthew Stafford. Even Sam Darnold for the Seahawks is less than 100%. But for Denver, Bo Nix is a guy in the offense. He's not necessarily the guy in the offense. They have an excellent running game. Their defense has obviously been their bread and butter all season long. And Stidham comes in. He's been with Denver for 2 seasons as the backup quarterback, which means he understands Sean Payton's system. He knows this offense. He's been in the offense long enough to run this playbook without restrictions. He's had some big NFL moments filling in for some bigger names out there, with Derek Carr and the Raiders being most recent for him. And like we talked about, Denver's defense on its own is good enough to win games as long as the offense stays on schedule, grinds the ball down the field, and puts points on the board every single time. Field goals. Normally, I wouldn't say, well, they can get by just on field goals. This is a Denver team that absolutely could get by there. Stidham is efficient. I think he'll make good decisions. I don't think this is doom and gloom for Denver. I had a social media post that I saved this week that I had to bring up on the show. It's from one Nick Foles. I can't give his nickname on the air because we'll get canceled by the FCC, but
we will get definitely penalized.
Nick Foles went on Twitter and said a positive note. First he delivered some very kind words to Broncos fans and how emotional the situation might be for them. But he says, quote, a positive note going into the game versus the Patriots is that they struggle against backup quarterbacks in championship-type games. A little bit of a flex there with, obviously, Nick Foles coming in and defeating the Patriots, taking down one Tom Brady, and winning the Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. So maybe adding a little fuel to the fire, salt to the wound.
Little Philly special there, huh?
Denver's going to play host to the New England Patriots, who absolutely dominated the Houston Texans.
I'm going to go a little bit on the coaching side of it here, Mark, a little bit. If you go back a little bit, do you remember Stedman when he was with who? The New England Patriots? Mm-hmm. Now, I know they got a new coaching regime, okay?
Yeah.
And obviously new tactical ways of defense and stuff, but he was the backup there. And what does the backup do? They go against the defense.
In practices. Yes.
So not necessarily the same calls and stuff, but they've got the same defensive guys there. He knows that team. And that right there in itself, he knows what they're capable of doing. So, yeah, all this time, it would be different if you were in the same division and knowing what this quarterback is capable of doing if you played him a couple of times.
That's right.
But this one right here, I think they got enough time to where they can, go ahead and see what his skill level is and what he's capable of doing, that kind of deal, because we're on a short leash right here, obviously, right? They didn't know who they were going to play. But once again, I think that's so important. I don't think the backup situation is so influential. I just think more about him being over at New England and knowing the type of players that he's going to be going against and maybe seeing the weaknesses. I think they're doing a lot of film study this week, obviously.
I've got some friends that are diehard Denver Broncos fans, and this week I'm telling them to not worry because Stidham is your quarterback. I'm telling them to worry because Drake May is coming.
He's coming.
And he's coming with a vengeance. Houston, you could make the argument that the Texans had the hottest defense coming into the playoffs. Look at the winning streak. Look what they turned their season around based on defense, and they made C.J. Stroud, the Patriots defense, made C.J. Stroud look like he doesn't even belong in this league. All the turnovers. Look.
Well, he doesn't.
New England was able to prove that their defense can hold. And they were able to prove also that their quarterback, Drake May, the likely MVP in this league,
as it is right now,
if he can do that, a double-digit win over the Texans defense, is the Broncos defense really that much more elite, that much better, who nearly coughed it up to Josh Allen from coming in on the road? When the Patriots have done well against Josh Allen this year, I think New England's headed to the Super Bowl, Tracy.
Well, if Denver can mimic any kind of, I think, to be honest with you, I think their level of play style and defense is about the same as Houston. Houston just had some more tactical angles. If there is a weakness for the Denver defense, it's their D-backs. Mm-hmm. And I know they had the leading sacks, and all the accolades that came with that, breaking the record and blah, blah, blah. But if there's anything, there has been some completion ratios that were positive going against their D-backs, okay, their secondary. And that's the only thing. But if they can look at a little bit of what Houston did and combine a little bit of it because they made freaks. I mean, he was freaked out the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
You got to admit what he threw besides the one throw that he did in the end zone in the heave, but what he had 2 turnovers. And so, you got to look at it that he doesn't carry the ball, tight. He runs with a loaf of bread.
He's used to having great protection.
And we've seen this now, not only in the last game, but the game before. He's fumbled 4, lost 2. And I think that right there with that defense coming at him on the line, that's the only thing. Can he scramble? You bet he can. But he holds the ball so loose. But you know what I think, too? I think that everything around him, his backs, his receivers, I think that right there is the compliment to get him through the deal. I'm still on my Denver bandwagon. I know Nick. I just know having Nick's out is a little bit going to shade it a little bit. I'm still on Denver right now, but I just think that the Patriots are looking really good. And I followed that suit because of you from 4, 5, 6 weeks ago when you got on them. Yeah. And I started following them a little bit. I'm like, dang. And their head coach, defensive guy. So, I just think if it comes down to turnovers, I think Denver wins this game.
I like New England going to the big dance, and it would be interesting to see if Drake May wins it all. Then I think it's such a boost for an organization that seems like it was only defined by Tom Brady, of course. So,
they need more Super Bowls up there, don't they?
They need more representation than just because think about it. If the Patriots never win it again, you're looking at a curse of the Bambino type thing.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I want it the best for I want it for the best team. But that owner up there needs another Super Bowl.
Well, he needs a lot. It's not necessarily another Super Bowl.
He needs not to go down to Florida anymore. The Bahamas is what he doesn't need to do.
It's time to go to the NFC, where the Seattle Seahawks dismantled San Francisco 41-6, overwhelming the injury-ridden 49ers with explosive offense and a defense that never let the game breathe. From the opening play,
special teams.
From the opening play of the game, Tracy, San Francisco was behind the 8 ball, reminding me of Indiana and Oregon. The 49ers never had a chance.
They just beat them up, even worse than what they already were.
It was a lot closer during the regular season in both of the matchups between these two NFC West opponents. But this one, Seattle made a statement and said, hey, we are going to show the world that we look like the best team left in the league. And they're scary. I think they're very, very scary. Even in a game where they lose Charbonnet, their lead running back, who did I talk about last week? I said Walker was going to step up and have a big game. I didn't quite expect it to be because of an injury, but...
Well, everything was on his shoulders. And, man, that guy runs hard.
Yeah, he does.
But what about the catching in the flats, what he was doing? That was unexpected.
He's a dual threat out there, and he's Darnold's favorite guy other than his star wide receiver, of course, Jackson Smith.
But you talked about it, too, though, about him having to get rid of the ball quick. And what'd he do? Everything was less than a 3 count, and it was out in the flats. It was out, a 3 and out, 4 and out, and then let the yak take care of itself. That's what won that game, because Darnold, when he gets pressured, boom, he loses it. But you saw him under control. You saw him getting rid of the ball quickly, and it was all just a great plan, and they executed it fine. And of course, that defense, dude, they just manhandled that line, didn't they? Brock Purdy didn't know he didn't. And Christian McCaffrey, they doubled down on him. They had a spy on him every time.
Yep.
They had 2 guys on him every time.
It seemed simple. It seemed really, really simple what the game plan was. Seattle brought that game plan. The 49ers did not have an answer for it.
And they executed it to a T.
Yep.
To a T. But here's the deal. What about their coach? The capability he's doing right now. It's pretty interesting for him not to ever be at that level and to being able to have these guys on the same page and everything.
Reminds me of an Indiana.
Hello.
Yep.
You got to
ragtag group of misfits nobody else wanted. Darnold did great things in Minnesota. They let him walk.
Didn't want to pay him an extra $500,000.
And now he's sitting on the cusp of a Super Bowl. And
where's Minnesota sitting?
Let's be honest right now. The NFC looks really, really good no matter which team makes it. And the other team is the LA Rams. Okay, so this one stings a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. My family and I sat down. We watched the Bears game together. That Caleb Williams essentially Hail Mary to tie the game, where he's forced out of the pocket on the blitz, made that beautiful touchdown throw to Cole Kmet. It was absolutely offensive pass interference every step of the way.
He pushed off.
They didn't call it. I'm here to tell you that they should have called it. It didn't matter. The Rams won anyway. They braved the weather. They braved the defense of the Chicago Bears. They braved the crowd. Nothing deterred the Rams in this one. Now, was it close? Oh, yeah, it was really close. They were this close to blowing it. But the Rams are still in. And I think they are the scariest team remaining because of it. Because I do believe that they have the best wide receiver in the game. And their running back proved that he can go toe-to-toe with anybody out there. A man with Matthew Stafford's quarterback IQ and that elite talent that he has in his skill positions, it's hard to pick against the Rams right now.
You know what this team reminds me a lot of, being in the same Rams when they were in St. Louis?
Mm-hmm.
Does it not just
Yes.
correlate and just, I mean,
I remember
mirror?
a Super Bowl.
Greatest show on turf?
Yes.
And it's just amazing how this guy, he had 7 different completions to 7 different receivers. That's unbelievable, man. And of course, you're talking about the receiver that's just unbelievable, and playing in 9-degree weather and being from Hawaii. That's just crazy. But I was going along with stats, and like you were saying, this 1-9 this and 1-9. I'm like, dude, they came out. They had hand warmers, everything. They had. What was it? Peppers in their socks?
They had the cayenne pepper in their socks. They had hot chocolate and hot chicken broth on the sidelines.
Remember I told you about the hot chocolate, the game I played in?
Yes.
Where they had hot chocolate, man.
Which is wild because there's no way you're putting hot chocolate in my stomach on a big game. No.
I was just talking about that.
Not gonna happen.
I think most of it was poured on my hands, though, so I could hear the ball. But you know what? You were right on every facet of that and every angle about this, their performance. Now it's all coming back to where they're back on turf. Weather, I don't think, is going to be a problem whatsoever.
No.
And like you said, these are division rivals. The Wild Wild West, we said, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and sure enough, the 2 better teams are coming from the West.
This is number 1 versus number 5 on paper,
But is it 5?
and that's it.
Is it 5? Yeah.
No.
No.
To me, and I've said this for many weeks now, this is number 1 versus number 2.
Yeah. And either one of these teams, you're right, could win it. But Gall goes back to, the defense for Seattle, I think, because if you look at the Rams' defense, it's good, but it's not great.
It's porous.
I'm just going to say there
are holes in it.
There's holes in it everywhere. But they've got to put some pressure on Darnold, and I just don't see that happening. I'll be honest with you. And if he does what he did the other day and gets it out in less than 3 seconds, because Rams are going to score.
There's a lot of pressure riding on this matchup, I think, if you're Seattle, because Sam Darnold, as good as he's been, is still trying to earn his stripes. He's trying to prove to the world that he should be considered in the upper echelon of quarterbacks in this league. He's currently not there. Stafford's got a ring.
Yeah, show me the money is what show me the money, because he's not making what other quarterbacks are making right now.
I would love to see Seattle take down the Rams, maybe a little revenge for taking out my Bears,
Really?
Because I really did believe that if Chicago won that game, I really truly believe Chicago had what it took to win it all.
Well,
and I truly believe that, and I've said this for weeks, in our Super Bowl predictions, I even had the Rams making the title game and winning it all. I don't know if anybody stops the Rams right now.
If anybody can stop them, Denver Broncos.
Well, that means they're going to get past Seattle this weekend on the road. True road warriors.
And 13?
It was a gritty win for LA. Hats off to the Rams because they just simply wanted it more.
And can we come up with this a little bit later on and talk about what is a completion?
Well,
I'm not opening that can of worms right now.
Just remember, a ground can't cause a fumble. They say it multiple times on the broadcast, and then they overturn it.
Man.
Anyway, we've got our Around the League lightning round coming up next. Stories from all different sports across professional sports in the U.S. Stick with us. We'll be right back. It's Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE.
Third quarter coming up.
Tracy, multiple stories occurring across the country this week affecting all different styles of sports. One of the biggest coming out of college basketball this week, where many college players were among dozens charged in a point-shaving plot affecting 17 NCAA Division I teams, 39 players in total. This is just the tip of the iceberg, by the way, as it was also announced that more investigations are currently underway. It feels like we talk about this story at least once a month at this point. We've discussed ad nauseum about the proficiency of professional gambling in professional sports and how it's also trickled down to collegiate athletics and prop bets. And you can gamble these days on pretty much any aspect of any game. 20 of the 26 defendants in this have played college basketball during the 23-24 or the 24-25 season, where 4 of the players charged have actually played for their current teams as recently as the past 7 days this season. Now, so there's a lot of schools that are named in this indictment here. It's Abilene Christian, Alabama State, Buffalo, Coppin State, DePaul, Eastern Michigan, Fordham, Kennesaw State, LaSalle, New Orleans, Nicholls State, North Carolina A&T, Northwestern State, Robert Morris, St. Louis, Southern Miss, and Tulane. One of these players is Simon Cottle. He's the Conference USA preseason player of the year for Kennesaw State, who's averaging a team-high 20.2 points per game this season and just scored 21 points in a big win over Florida International last week. This is a big deal here. The defendants are charged with bribery in sporting contests and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. And essentially, it's coming down to players that have been bribed to modify their performance in a negative way during games, essentially score fewer points than what they were projected to hit prop bets and allow the guys behind the scenes to make a whole lot of money on these gambling schemes.
Oh, Mark, here's the bottom line, too. You just named off all these teams, right? Any Power 5? No.
Not really. No. But it is stated in the ESPN article that multiple investigations are still underway.
They're pending.
I guarantee they're there.
But what I'm getting at is, and the reason I said that is the money. These guys, they're not doing it just for fun. They're doing it for a payout on the side.
Sure.
All right. They're not getting near as much money as these other guys in these bigger schools. So are they looking to tab it a little bit more? That's the only reason I can think of. Because if they get popped, boy, you talk about ruining somebody's life. So, I mean, that's the only thing that I can think of why they would do it, surely. And then here's the other deal. They didn't do this on their own. There's no way.
No, this is absolutely organized crime.
Exactly. So there's somebody, they're nothing but the puppet. Who are the puppeteers? That's what they need to find out.
Well, just like in the previous time that we talked about this as well, they're being caught as well. But we're talking about the Italian mafia. We're talking about
this China.
China is heavily involved in this one, as well as a lot of these games actually trace back to the Chinese Basketball Association, or the CBA, beginning as early as September of 2022, where former NBA player Antonio Blakeney is one of the young men involved in this as well, allegedly manipulating his own performance and then recruiting other players from his team to join as well. Of course, he was a star at LSU before playing a couple seasons with the Chicago Bulls, and then sometimes when your NBA career doesn't pan out, you end up overseas in these international leagues. He's played in both Israel and in China. Now, these players are essentially getting kickbacks here, which is a bit crazy that you want to gamble your career over this, but the bribes that the players themselves are earning are between $10K and $30K to intentionally underperform. In an age where NBA contracts are in the millions, this really feels like chunk change, right? And it doesn't feel to me like it's worth it. Now, I get it. This is money under the table. This is not going to hit taxes and things like that. This is dirty money, right? And $10K to $30K to us, the average Joe, and our listeners like you and me, $10K to $30K is a pretty big deal. But whenever you're making millions as an NBA athlete or even as a college athlete in this particular case here, I don't know. It doesn't feel worth it to me, which is even more unfortunate because, as we've talked about a lot on the show this week, in discipline of collegiate-aged players. These are young adults that are trying to figure out how the world works. Some of them came from very strong family backgrounds where they learned in respect and integrity and character like the Mendozas of the world, but not everybody was that fortunate to come up with that kind of upbringing. Many come from broken homes and had to learn the hard way, and sports was their avenue to get off the streets. So, this is really taking advantage of very vulnerable young student athletes. And not only is it going to really damage their professional careers, I mean, it's going to damage their personal career as well. We're talking about felonies here.
Mark, but okay, I'm going to sidestep just a little bit. What you see on the paperwork, what you see printed and seen to the public is that $10,000 to $20,000, $30,000. But what you don't see also, though, is the side bets from that their wives or their girlfriends or their agents or their brothers or the other ones that do it as a whole. So that 30,000 could be up into the hundreds of thousands when you take everybody that's in on the fix. All right, this is straight out of the movie The Sting. All right, it was a cumulative. So if you look at it from that area of problematic, then you start totaling it up, and it could be reached. One game could be close to $1 million if you do the sum total. All you're seeing is what the one person is on paper right there and what they've publicized. But if you look at the whole big picture, who else made these bets because they were in on it? They were in on this thing.
Yeah.
Think about it that way. So, but you're right. And then, of course, nobody else is going to get taken down. It's just going to be that one person or the agent or whoever else is immediately involved, because they can't come back on the other person. They just happen to know they bet on a game, is all they did. Immediate involvement is going to be tough for the FBI to be able to put their thumb on it with anybody else. They're going to get the main ring player, and whoever else. But you got to look at the big picture. 30,000 could be 300,000 real easy. So you do what? 5 or 6 games a year, and then multiply that times 2 or 3. You're looking at millions of dollars here. Then you go to the guys like you're talking about, the big time ringleaders. And, we don't want to say names because I enjoy driving my truck safely every day and stuff. But you're thinking of these guys that are making millions because they bet every outlet around the world.
Yeah.
And they pull a ticket from every one of these places.
It literally is worldwide.
And it's so, if you think of it that way, we think of Las Vegas here, right? Or even New Jersey, up in that area. But Las Vegas, there's outlets like that all over the world. Cairo, is a huge hub. You're talking all around the world where these outlets are. Singapore is another one. Huge gambling outfits out there. So, not just the Vegas of the world. Vegas is a very small municipal compared to what the rest of it is. And, if you think of it that way, this is in the millions and millions and millions on one little game. And I imagine they went to these smaller schools, because you're right. These families come from backgrounds usually broke up and stuff, and this is their one ticket out of the projects. And so what 30,000 could be is actually $1 million. And what else do they get on the side beside the cash?
Well, that's
what are they driving?
Sure.
What are they wearing?
Sure.
And I'm not saying shoes. I'm talking about around their neck, man. You know what I mean? So
well, you mentioned student athletes or athletes doing what they feel they have to survive. We see it a lot on the baseball side as well. In the PED and the steroids and the performance-enhancing drugs era, you see a lot of international players doing whatever it takes to get into the league, secure that contract, and they fail a drug test, they get kicked out, they get banned, whatever. They made their money. They made life-changing money that they can bring back home and use to give their family a better way of life. And as that's a good transition point, honestly, because let's move to maybe a bit more of a positive story coming in this week out of Major League Baseball. Of course, Cooperstown is inducting new members of the Hall of Fame. And, last week we talked about Jeff Kent, who was elected. And now we've got 2 more big names that are going to be joining the Hall, Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran, who both reached the necessary 75% support of the Baseball Writers Association of America on the ballot. Carlos Beltran, in his 4th year on the ballot, finally gets the call. Andrew Jones in his 9th season on the ballot, and those were the 2 overwhelming leaders. Some of the guys on the outside looking in include Chase Utley, Andy Pettit, King Felix Hernandez of Seattle Mariners fame, and of course Alex Rodriguez still hanging around on the ballot as well.
Well, and once again, and I'm not going to be negative or anything but these guys are very well deserving. I mean, you think about some of the big games, they got rings obviously, and the way that they played the game and what they invested in it. And I think that takes a big look at the big picture of it all. Obviously, they were in some big games. And, of course, if you were a fan of the team that they played on mainly, well, then, of course, you're wanting those guys in there. I mean, we all pull for our certain players that were on certain teams. But in the big picture, yeah, I think it's a worthy class. And I think this is one that are suited if you look at their numbers. But and the other ones, like you're saying, there's some big names in those other ones. And eventually, once they build another wing in Cooperstown, that they'll have enough room for another bus up there for these other players that deserve in there. I mean, A-Rod, come on, really? I mean, but how do they project these guys, and how do they go with it? And who's the riders? You look at the newer ones, and we were talking about it. Some of the players that I'm thinking, like Tommy Johns, those riders are gone now. So now you got a new faction coming up that are looking at the ones that were from the late 70s, 80s, 90s, that kind of deal. So you got to look at it. All the ones from the riders in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, they're all gone now. So should the voting go in a different direction now, or how does that work? But I think the class this year is pretty good.
It's possible that it could, because one of these two names is Carlos Beltran, is someone whose name is at least associated with the Houston Astros cheating scandal.
Yes.
Dating back to the World Series where with the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Astros went on to win that World Series. It was determined that there were multiple members of the Astros organization that were involved in tipping pitches and tampering with the results of games. Beltran was associated with that, and that scandal cost him an opportunity to be the manager of the Mets in 2020 and may have caused some of the delay in getting him into the Hall. But of course, Beltran finally does get across the finish line. He is into the Hall. And unfortunately, it's a stain on what was otherwise a really good baseball reputation. He was AL Rookie of the Year with the Royals in 1999, a 9-time All-Star, a 3-time Gold Glove winner, 2-time Silver Slugger in center field. Won the World Series in 2017 with Houston, like we talked about, but many baseball fans put an asterisk next to that and got to the World Series in 2013 with the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, once again, Mark.
But if the Hall
voters,
what is
it? How do you do it?
What I mean? If the voters are willing to turn a blind eye, now I have to say this, Beltran's role in the cheating scandal was never fully proven or determined, but he was associated with the same team the same year where he won the ring. They're all in on it, whether they like to admit it or not. And this is not just me, because I'm not a Dodgers fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I am, admittedly, I do hate the Astros for this. I absolutely hate the Astros. I
thought we were going on a positive note with this one.
The positive note is for your Tommy Johns of the world.
Yes.
For your potential Pete Roses of the world. You're seeing a shift potentially in who is being allowed the opportunity to get in. I mentioned Alex Rodriguez. His name is still on the list. Do I think he's going to get the votes to get in? No, I do not. But Alex Rodriguez is now up to 40% of the vote. They need to get to 75 to get in. Rodriguez was never this high before, and other names on the list as well. Of course, you think about Manny Ramirez, the Manny Ramirez's of the world, who is also linked to performance-enhancing drugs. He's at 38.8% of the vote. These are two guys that I still believe will not get it when it's all said and done. But you're watching their numbers rise, which means opinions are changing. Maybe it's a changing of the guard. Maybe it's just the lax structure. I don't know. But something is changing, and I think it's going to allow some really good arguments for some of those guys that got left off and left behind years ago, especially the ones that are no longer with us, like the Pete Roses of the world, to maybe have a chance at redemption.
That'd be nice. That really would be nice. And just maybe they'll come back up and get higher percentages and stuff, but that would be nice. But I think you're right. Beltrans of the world, they're sneaking in, even though with a little bit of tarnish. Maybe that is opening the door, Mark, for for maybe the Pete Roses of the world and stuff down the road.
More to come on Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition. Our local roundup is next. Stick with us on 92.9 KVRE.
Fourth quarter coming up.
Tracy, we'd like to start our local roundup with a congratulations to Rich Thompson. Earlier, a few weeks ago in the show, we talked about Rich departing from National Park College and moving on to the Seattle Mariners organization as a minor league manager. This week, we're finally able to announce where that minor league team is, and it is exactly where you thought it might be, right in our own backyard. North Little Rock, Arkansas. Rich Thompson is now the skipper for the Arkansas Travelers. This is a big deal.
Oh, man, no doubt. And how exciting is that? I mean, not a big move, and obviously right in our backyard. I know how tight you and him are, so y'all can go. We can still visit and go to the games. And, of course, we wish the best of luck to him. But this is exciting. Of course, our buddy Lance over there, they know each other, so it's going to be a family move, but not too far away, because I'll be honest with you, Saddle, that's a long ways away, but still, hey, we wish the best for him, and we can't wait to win that Texas League, big guy.
Hey, it's a homecoming for Thompson, who was a relief pitcher with the Travelers, really his introduction into the big leagues. He entered as a Los Angeles Angel and had time with the Athletics and the Blue Jays as well, and Thompson credits the Travelers for making him an Arkansan. Of course, as a Traveler, he talked about on his interview with us, he met his wife, Ashley. They have 2 wonderful kids together, and did some really great things at National Park College. So congrats, Coach. And I know that we are in the process of grabbing some season tickets
exactly
to Arkansas Travelers baseball this upcoming season. 125th anniversary, by the way.
That's right.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Hey, on the National Park side as well, some big news coming out this week. On the women's soccer side, Kaylee Croson has been tapped as the new leader of Nighthawk women's soccer. This is the first time that the soccer coaching position has been split into a men's and women's position. Coach Corey Irvine remains head of Nighthawk men's soccer, but Croson joins NPC from the University of the Incarnate Word, where as a player and a goalkeeper, she was the Southland Conference's goalkeeper of the year, had an assistant job at Schreiner University as well, and looks forward to leading the Nighthawk women to new heights this upcoming season.
That's exciting, man. I'm telling you what. And if you think about her background and everything like that, I mean, you're talking high standards and high quality.
Yes.
And that's going to do nothing but, make it a little bit more as far as inviting over to NPC and to have some of those. And she's played on the big level, so she knows what she's looking for. And so that's pretty cool. Man. And just to think about where the program was, a couple of years ago? So, and nothing but positive and looking up.
It continues to put this program in a great positive direction. Defense first. I love to see it. Congratulations to Nighthawk women's basketball sophomores Aaliyah Hollins and Kyra Garrett. Hollins recently became the program's all-time rebounding leader in a game against North Arkansas College, and Garrett this past weekend also became the team's all-time blocks leader in a big win over Southeast Arkansas College. And we'd like to congratulate Coach Eddie Lamb of Lakeside High School on his 600th career win.
Known Eddie a long time. You and him, of course, we've all gone back. He's been a standard here in Garland County for a long time. No doubt one of the premier coaches around the region, all the way from North Garland County down to East Garland County, but still staying right here in our backyard. And we wish the best for him, man, and can continue success. And we've seen him coach. We've seen him play, actually, in some of these games when he was in college. So, hey, that's pretty cool stuff.
That's our show, Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition. We're here every Saturday at 10 a.m. He's Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. We'll see you next week.
Game over.